Raj. How are you? We're live, and welcome to another Coaching and Flourish podcast. I'm your host, John. We're here with Raj. Raj, how are you? I know there was hurricane. How are things? How did you make it
Yes.
through?
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. And thanks for checking in. I had like lots of people messaging and things as well. So I feel very grateful. We were blessed that we didn't have any terrible damage or anything where we were. We haven't had, the house didn't get flooded. I mean, we did lose power for a couple of days, which wasn't that bad. It was fine. It was hot in Florida, but it was fine because, that's the worst going to happen, just losing power. And, we had to throw out some food and there's debris to clear up. It was frightening. I won't lie. I mean, watching the news, I don't normally watch the news, but I wanted to keep up to date and seeing what people have gone through. It breaks my heart. I think it's really sad. And I think I underestimated the emotional toll that it would take on me, actually, those few days last week. I'm just trying to have a bit of grace with myself.
All right, Raj. I'm glad you made it through. Yeah. And yeah, I can resonates, even if it's not completely directly affecting you. Even that emotional, mental energy you have to spend on it is significant. All right, let's jump in. I'll give you the mic. It's your floor. What are the questions?
John. All right, let's get this question started then. So, John, this question is around success and fear. So, what are some ways the fear of success masks itself as something else? And how can I recognize that as a coach?
How does the fear of success? That's a three-part question.
It is. I guess it sounds like in the coaching context, when you're coaching a client, how might the fear of success be showing up? Like how do you know how to go really deep in a session, John? So I suspect
Right.
coaches looking for, like, how do you pick up on that?
Yeah, wow. I think it's interesting. Okay, so I think part of the challenge of as coaching, or to say something shows up like this, or my client is dealing with success anxiety, or my client has ADHD, or they have fill in the blank, right? I think it's a challenge as a coach to operate under that my client has fill in the blank, period, no matter what that blank thing is. And especially when people put labels on it, like, oh, I have fear of success, or I have this, or I have that. I feel like that label is extremely challenging to work through if it's not a label that the client has chosen, if it feels empowering for the client to take that on. So I think, yeah, that's my initial response is, all right, we are already in treacherous waters if we are thinking in terms of, okay, my client has a fear of success. How do I coach fear of success rather than how do I coach my client? And we talk a lot about this in the training, the idea of coaching the client, not the problem. This is exactly it. Interestingly enough, I think that, let's say the fear of success is a real thing, right? It's something that is there. The coaching perspective would not try to solve it, would not even try to take it away, wouldn't even try to find a decision or solution for it, but would really use it as a means to generate deeper insights. So what about success is scary? What about success provokes fear? So those are the questions I would ask if I were the coach, if I think my client is fearing success right now.
And I know you've helped me to unmask this before, thinking about, never forgotten that question. You asked me, what healing still needs to be done. Remember, I was, stuck in past and some beliefs and assumptions that are actually holding me back from going to the next level. And for me, when thinking about the women in leadership programs that are run, and actually this has come out in values exercise before now, like what works for you, what might not be working for you, and some cultural work that I've done as well. I know for me, having a high value of humility, and I remember working with a client who that kind of helped to unmask her fear around success was it would mean that she's no longer staying true to being humble. Like, what does it mean to toot your own horn?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and how would you know that unless you asked those questions and got there, or helped her get there? Yeah, what was the second part of that question? I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. What are some ways a fear of success masks itself as something else? And how can I recognize that as a coach?
Well, I think how do you recognize something as a coach? Yeah, this is coaching theory. And I think this is one of the reasons why I love coaching is that as a coach, you don't need to have a complete checklist diagnostic. Okay, wow, they've checked off 5 of 4 of these criteria. This is obviously this. Like, that is the work of a psychologist. That is the work of a therapist. I look at it as completely beneficial from a coaching perspective to not have to do that. I'm thankful that there are professionals that operate in that way. I think therapy and consulting, mentoring, advising, all of the helping professions work in tandem, but they are different. And so the coaching perspective on this is we don't even have to know or even have a checklist at all. If you even have just a slight intuitive whisper, like I hear a small little whisper thinking, I think they're afraid of success. Then you can ask a question about it. You can say, okay, what's scary about being successul? Just go right into it. Just book. And then you'll just you'll hear things come up. You'll hear if you're right or if you're wrong. And then you just can adjust. And if you're wrong, it doesn't matter. You just throw the question out and keep going. If you're right, great. Then the client says, oh my goodness, that's there. Let's go down that road. And then the client is off on a new path and you're off and running again. So that's the beauty of coaching is I feel like you don't have to have that diagnostic checklist in order to become curious. And to me, that makes it amazing. That makes it such a cool profession because you can hear just the tiniest little whisper and follow it. And then that whisper might be the thing that unlocks whole new worlds for your client.
What might be an obvious whisper for someone who's quite new to coaching?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, when I'm listening to someone and I actively imagine I am the other person for a period of time. Like I will use all of my mental, emotional energy to like pretend I'm them. It's like my 6-year-old. He came out with he got some glasses and a little red little Spider-Man glasses, and he had a rope, and he was throwing the rope at a wall and pretending he was jumping from wall to wall. It was amazing. Like he stayed in character for a while. Little kids, they will stay in character for forever, and you're like, wow, that he is invested in the character. It's like that as a coach. You invest almost it's almost like you take on the character of your client in a way, and you're in there and you're imagining you're them as you're listening. And when you do that, interesting things will pop up. You're like, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. Or unexpected things are on the radar screen. And then, so let's say someone's talking about something really hard, but you hear joy. Or someone is talking about something joyful, but you hear fear. Or something is, they're talking about something and you hear like, I wonder about this. And it makes no sense. I think it's the thing that makes no sense. That's what you go for. Or, that just gives you that information, but only if you are engaged in that active empathetic listening That's the foundation. That is necessary, needs to happen, 100% be there, or else none of this other stuff works. Yeah.
Thanks, John. It's that curiosity superpower again, isn't it?
It takes commitment. It takes the same it takes the same level of discipline as as almost like an improv scene or imaginary, or anyone who's done acting. Like, you commit to the character. It's like you commit to your client. Yeah, I've never thought about it like from a standpoint of like children's imaginative play, but it's extremely similar, especially when your client's talking. And sometimes the clients I work with, some clients I work with, they have a very how do we say, imaginative, visual friendly way of communicating. And then other clients, it can feel more murky or like, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know where this is going. I'm not getting a mental image. You know what I mean? Like, it can feel like, ooh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I think when it's murky like that, then you can start asking questions that you feel like you have two options with that. One, you can ask questions about the process. Like, what about this process isn't working? Like, what's happening right now? Like, where's this question taking you? Like, what do you really want to get out of this session? What's the end goal here? And then I try to think in terms of geography. Like, if I were thinking, because our brains are really wired that way too, where you can think in terms of, if you were imagining that a picture were happening, or a movie was happening when someone's talking, I find I'm just a better coach. Like, if I can actually see them doing the things we're talking about, or if they're talking and just riding along a train of thought and it feels smooth, yeah, this is good. But if the train of thought feels jumpy and jolty, and you can then ask questions about the train of thought, like almost meta questions.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I hope that helps for the fear of success, or really for anyone who's out there in the coaching world. Those who are coaching, I think, they know what they're talking. They know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I love that. It's getting all the visuals, being right there with the person, stepping into their world, like almost you're becoming part of that journey, aren't you, by understanding it?
I always felt when I was coaching a lot, we're talking about 4 or 5 hours a day. And I was meeting at coffee shops. And we were just making it as a young family only on coaching. We were financially month to month for 2 years. And that's stressful. That takes a toll. And I remember looking forward to coaching sessions, feeling like this is an hour of peace. Like, this is an hour when I could just let all of my cares, worries, just set them there and be 100% over there with the other person. And there was someone asking, a new coach was asking recently, how do you square with like your life not being perfect in order for you to become a coach for someone else? And I think that from this perspective, it's like it's a helping profession. It's like a training session. It's like a job. You show up. It's like, it'd be like, well, I can't do my job until my life is totally perfect. Like that. It's the same kind of same idea, right? So, what I find is that if people waited until their life was absolutely perfect, no one would ever be a coach. And it's a misunderstanding of what the coaching world is. We're not dispensing knowledge. We're dispensing curiosity and empowerment. And you dispense empowerment by caring, by putting yourself over there on the other side so deeply. To me, that's the heart of the coaching process.
I actually find that people trust me more, want to work with me more, because I have shared imperfection and I have shared those vulnerabilities. And actually, I'm grateful for those, because it also helps me. It is easier for me to step into people's shoes, because I am not looking at things from a lens of pure perfection. It's like in the 2.0, we're learning some of those tools, and it's like, it doesn't really matter if the system or tool doesn't work. we want to see what we learn from it and exploring it. It's not the execution of perfection, it's the learning and growth from it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It'd be like asking yourself or going to a trainer, like, or being a let's say a sports trainer, and saying, I am not going to be a sports trainer. I can't train this other person until my body is perfect, and then I'll train, you know. But only until then. I'm not doing anything until, this temple is ideal.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things coming to mind. I mean, my hairdresser I used to go to if you want to even look at things like that and didn't have hair like mine. She had dreads, they were green dreads. It didn't make any difference how different we were to the service that she was providing to me. I loved something that you were saying as well about, you were talking about your own journey and what that was like. And I think even if you're not actively coaching, but you learn this ability to really be present and step into someone else's shoes, it shifts relationships, doesn't it? And the way you have empathy for people.
Totally. Yeah. And then there was something I was watching. So we're getting into media again, like doing more of these, like, and so it's so funny. I feel like Amoy says we should have a camera, like my reactions to things, because they're just silly. They're just silliness. But anyway, I was on TikTok and I was Googling things, and I was searching things on TikTok, not Googling. I was searching things on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And it's fascinating what came up and how much misconception there is about the field of coaching. And I thought, oh no, we got to go. We have to fix this. Like, the team, we got to go and like really represent what coaching is and isn't. And I feel like there's a lot of work to be done with that. But the number one misconception across the board, it comes from this idea that a life coach has their life perfect, or somehow all of that comes from a knowledge-based viewpoint. And when people are in a knowledge-based viewpoint, the expert in the room is the one who has more knowledge. Coaches do not work like that. It's not that way. It's empowerment-based. And so it's really based on curiosity and asking better questions, not having better answers. So,
are we going to see you on TikTok soon?
Well, I think so. I think we're going to do it. I have a plan. My 15-year-old Paloma, she's amazing. She's going to help me. She's like, Dad, we got this. I'm like, all right, that's right, child.
I'm excited to watch this space. I mean, I'm not on many social media platforms, but I do like to scroll through TikTok. So I'll be excited about that.
I'll make life coach dances. It's going to be great.
We're going to look out for that for sure.
It's fantastic. I mean, I feel like what's cool to me, I mean, it is super cool. I feel like I have a couple, an opportunity to connect with my daughter in a real workspace, in a workspace, and talk, about really cool things from a perspective of, looking at the search engine optimization, the analytics, like, all of the things that are happening. It's just, it's this kind of education that I feel like really helps empower young people how to look at social as a tool and to approach it like a tool. And I mean, I'm not on it a lot, but this is my approach to it. So I'm excited. I feel like it's a way for us to connect in a different arena too. So we'll see. You never know if we'll make co-videos.
I mean, that was something really interesting you were saying as well. So you're talking about being on social media. Perhaps there is this misconception that coaches need to have it all together, and perhaps coaches who are launching their businesses or posting feel that they need to look like they've got it all together and everything has to be perfect. Yet there's that fine line between being inspiring to people. You're being inspiring. For me, I love to talk about what coaching's done for me and how it's changed my life, and those inspiring stories when I put the work in. How do you think people can find that balance between kind of being real yet being inspiring?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's a, I don't know, Raj, if I don't know yet.
Wait and see.
Yeah. I think it's, I mean, for me, when I get into this space, I think what would be the most useful, what's going to be the best for the mission. Like, you know, if I'm really trying to impact people through what I've learned from coach training and also like pass on the skill sets that I wish I had, that's what I do. I go back to what does the mission require. But I do not know the answer to that question yet. And we'll find out. Maybe there's a scientific way. I'll find out if there's a way to get it. Um, um, you know, maybe there's a way for me to scientifically see which posts get more likes or traction. Be a real answer to it, but I don't know.
Experiment. So I know we've only got a few minutes. Maybe we'll pick this question up again, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So the question is, what is resilience intelligence, and how does it apply to coaching?
Okay. So let's start with the word intelligence. It comes from obviously Latin with inter, which means between, and lego, which is also a word meaning to read, but it means to pick. And so intelligence is the ability to pick between two things. And I love this definition of intelligence because it's different from creativity. Creativity is taking an idea that is in the ethers and putting it into tangibility, or you know, connecting it to something that's already there. But in intelligence is this idea that here are two choices, and which is the more resilient choice? That is resilience intelligence. And so the idea is, okay, let's say you have a challenge. A challenge is presenting itself. Choice one is to, let's say, adopt a fixed mindset and prove yourself, and choose to address this challenge and win at all costs, and highly invest your mental, emotional self-worth into your performance. We'll call that path one. Path two is, let's say, instead is adopting a growth mindset, understanding that this challenge is an opportunity for you to develop your stamina, for you to learn, for you to develop a system so you can approach similar challenges like that in the future, and to ask for help, look for ways to develop networks and support so that you can continue persevering through it. Which is the more resilient choice? That is an example of resilience intelligence. It's the ability to choose between those two. And it doesn't mean that the first one is necessarily wrong. There are times when, you just got to get it done. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to tell yourself, you know what, I am the kind of person that has a clean kitchen every night. And no matter what, I do the dishes, and that's just me. I am a clean kitchen nighttime person. That's okay. I choose that identity. And
How did you know,
very
John?
much to have that identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not taking a growth mindset to cleaning the dishes. But I can take a growth mindset to receiving feedback from loved ones about my cleaning dishes style, right? Mm-hmm. So then you can have, there's a, resilience intelligence idea of how do you receive feedback? Do you receive feedback defensively? Or, do you receive feedback with gratitude? Yeah.
So much to talk about on this, and we're on time, but I really love your explanation. It was so simple and so clear around what is intelligence and then connecting it to resilience. So thank you for that, John.
Yeah, thanks, George. It's lovely. I love a good Q&A. Thank you for bringing these questions. Thank you, wider coaching community, for being there, moving the field forward. I feel like there's a lot happening. There's a lot of very exciting things happening in the field, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk about some of the stuff I'm reading and working through. So thank you, Raj. Thank you, Ashley, for setting this up, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you. Bye.